This might be one of the gayest films of 2010, and the weird thing is it was made for your dad. It's day 105 of 365. Today's movie, The Expendables. I'm the Anthony Bourdain of movie reviews, and you can check out more over on my Patreon. That's Ticket Stub Movie Club. This one's directed by and starring Sylvester Stallone, as well as Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren. Oh my God, there are so many action stars in this that to list them all off would probably take half the video anyway, so I'm just gonna make references as we go along. Basically, every action hero from the last 30 years is here to fuel the theater with as much testosterone as possible. I'm pretty sure that my showing in 2010 was a full 20 degrees warmer in the room just for all the male bodies mouth breathing in there. It was basically action movie Christmas for guys raised on Rambo and Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and all of those kinds of films. Is that why they named Statham's character Christmas? Add in a smattering of WWE stars and you have basically the high adrenaline action equivalent of just taking steroids in a theater. I was 19 when this released, so the machismo was not lost on me. I wanted wall-to-wall action and adrenaline, and I got that. However, I haven't seen it since 2010, so revisiting it in 2025, I was kind of shocked at how homoerotic this is. I don't mean gay as a pejorative in that opening statement. I think this movie, if you're willing to walk with me here, is probably accidentally, but very, very gay. And that makes it more enjoyable for me to watch, if I'm being honest. And that's not the only thing to like. I think it's also amazing that Stallone got this kind of pull pre-MCU. This is the most stacked out cast that should not have been able to happen, that he was able to make happen. That's crazy. There is genuinely a lot to like here. So let's jump into my 3 favorite things about The Expendables. The first thing that I love about The Expendables is that this movie's gay as hell, and I don't care what you say, you cannot convince me otherwise. It even tries to trick us into thinking that it's very heterosexual by giving both of our leads female relationships that are just excuses for them to talk to and be macho around other dudes. I absolutely love how, unaware the movie is of this read, but it really, really works, especially when you get to the end of the film and they kind of call attention to the fact that both of these guys are now single and didn't think the other person was right for them. The final line in their flight as they come back home after their successful mission at the end is that Statham doesn't think Stallone's girlfriend was good for him, because the implication is that they are the couple. If you watch the movie with the idea that Stallone and Statham are in a relationship with each other, the whole thing becomes this really wholesome gay night clubbing, but with shotguns and machine guns. And it's a really, really fun read. And genuinely, I read the movie as if every single action hero in this was kind of gay. When you have them doing things like calling each other pretty boy, that can be taken as sarcastic, but what if it wasn't? These guys aren't really the kind of people to double speak like that. So if you take everything they say at very face value, they all just kind of want to fuck each other. They want to fight, but they want to fuck each other. And I understand that this read might be offensive to people who really like this movie, and that's okay, I get it. But when you coat your film with so much machismo, vibrato, and peacocking, it's not for the women in the movie. It's for other men. Statham has an entire action sequence where he beats up a bunch of guys on a basketball court because one of the guys hit his girlfriend. But it's not because he hit the girlfriend, it's because he hurt something that belonged to Statham. Statham's mad that someone played with his toy without his permission, not that the toy was played with. And we know this because he uses violence to respond to violence. He just wants to show off to other macho men how macho he is. Outside of that, the movie's basically sexless. They really aren't interested in pushing these guys as being heterosexual in any specific way. They just needed that for the audience to be able to buy into the idea, because otherwise the accusation lands much more directly. If you remove all the scenes with women in them, the movie becomes very expressly about guys that just want to be around each other. They fight, they break up, they kiss, they make up. That is the full explanation for Jet Li and Dolph Lundgren's relationship in this movie. They all make potshots about these guys' inability to keep women in their lives. Mickey Rourke has a joke at his expense to close the film saying that he's not able to keep a wife. Yeah, because he likes being around dudes all the time. This is just an examination of performative masculinity. That's the entire plot of the movie, is these guys needing to perform their masculinity for each other in ways of seeing who top dog is, which is honestly a great premise for a movie full of action stars, right? Had this movie been more expressly about that, it probably would have had even more to say, but it just kind of accidentally stumbles in these things by writing the kinds of scenes about performative masculinity and playing them out with no notes. This movie's gay as hell, and that's okay. I don't mean that as a pejorative. The second thing that I like about this movie, getting the rage bait out of the way, is the action sequences. Hey, no shocker if you get some of the biggest names in action out of retirement to work together in the same movie, you're gonna get a really cool-ass fucking movie. The action sequences are fantastic. Now, according to my gay read, the guns and the knives are all phallic symbols, but, you know, if we just want to take them at face value, they're still really cool. This has every kind of gun, every kind of knife, every kind of trap and weapon you could think of. It is going out of its way to make violence absolutely incredible to watch. The gore is top-notch. Bodies are eviscerated. They blow a pirate in half with a gun. I don't even know what kind of gun that was or how it could do that, but it doesn't matter because we're breaking a little bit of reality, because in the action hero Expendables world, that's how this shit works. I really enjoy that because I know that making the movie is half the fun, and the fun of making action sequences is that much more fun when you have the guys you've always wanted to see doing it, do it. This is kind of an odd role for Terry Crews overall. He's not normally this kind of guy. He was this kind of guy in Gamer, which we already talked about on the series, but everything he's gonna do from here is much more reserved, much more comedy filled, so it's weird to see him in this like extra machismo kind of role. I really, really dig it because he does eventually get the coolest gun of the movie, and he makes a really cool point in the movie too. I love that he calls out the fact that the louder a gun is, the more that does to someone psychologically. And I remember in the theater, his repeater shotgun absolutely tearing through the audience auditorily. It was so big, it was so loud. It had people in the movie theater reacting, just like, holy shit, that is a big, loud fucking gun. The third and final thing that I love about The Expendables is just a tiny little moment. There's never really been an opportunity for me to highlight this moment because making a whole video around it felt silly, but having a little segment of a video feels like the right spot. So let's talk about acting choices. Acting choices can make or break a scene, and they can really stick in your head sometimes. Here's an example of an acting choice, not from this movie, but just to help you get an idea of what I'm talking about here. In Indiana Jones, at the end of the movie, when he's talking to the government guy, the guy answers his question about where the Ark is by saying it's being kept by top men. Top men. That acting choice to re-emphasize the line sticks with me so much to this day. Since the first time I saw it as a kid, I've never been able to get that line read out of my head. Top men is just something that will always be associated with Indiana Jones for me. That moment for me in The Expendables comes about a half hour into the movie when Stallone and Statham's characters are scoping out the island and they run into some trouble. They eventually have to take out a small platoon of guys, just the two of them, with knives and guns. And there's a sequence where two extra guys come from around the truck and almost take out Statham, but Statham is saved by Stallone shooting them out from past him. He's actually shooting past Statham to kill these guys. And Statham's reaction to this is to turn around and go, "Are you crazy?" But he doesn't just say, "Are you crazy?" because that wouldn't have been the best acting choice here. Instead, his acting choice is to smack the top of his bald head a couple times to, I guess, elicit the idea of craziness being in the brain. I don't know. It just has such a frenetic nature that is so perfect to cap end this action sequence. And there's still more coming. There's a chase that's gonna happen. This leads into the scene where they shoot up the dock and explode Stone Cold Steve Austin into the water. That's still all, it's still coming. So this just happens in the middle of this extended action sequence, and that moment has stuck with me since the theater. I love this acting choice. Statham is probably the strongest actor. No offense to our Rocky Balboa, but outside of Rocky's, Stallone isn't always the best actor. The same can be said for most of the other guys here. They're in it because they're action guys. The strongest actors end up being the cameo from Bruce Willis, because he's just one of the strongest actors to have around, but he's not even in the movie much. That acting choice being Statham's time to shine is just something I think is worth highlighting about the Expendables in general. But what do you think? Do you like the Expendables? Have you checked out all 4 of the movies in this series? That's right, there's 4 of them at this point. For our next film, we're gonna stick around with macho, gory action. We're talking about Machete next, and I'll see you tomorrow.